Hello and welcome back. This time we will take a look at what we will be building because I don't have a fully formed use case in mind yet. So for that, I think we are going to start continuing our work on visualizations and working with VA and building another custom step on top of that. For this, I just went to developer.sas.com to the REST APIs, and I'm just gonna click on visualizations. Now, last time we worked a bit with the reports API. This time, I think I'm just gonna start with the top left one, the insights one. So it's a very simple endpoint apparently that only has one major one in it called explain. Explains the column in the data source. Explains the specified column in relation to other columns in the data. The data is processed into human-friendly sentences. This call is a get via post. Okay, let's see if there's any additional details in here. Print for insights analytics. Okay, and that's what we already read in here. So let's click into this one and let's take a look at the requirements. We can see here, okay, we have to send it some JSON. We can send it a language, okay. And the data is SAS, and then we have to specify the SAS server, the library, and the table. Okay, so we'll have to provide something that a user can input a table. Then the target variable, and then we can have a bunch of additional pieces that we can turn on and off. And what's the date variable? Okay, if we have a date variable, probably the name of the time series column. When present, the time series column is used to generate forecast insights. Okay, that's pretty neat. Okay, include outlier detection. These are all the ones we saw before. Except language, the user language, which is used to create the description strings. If the header is not sent, the language will be the default of the service. Okay, and then the format locale is distinct from the accept language if it is used to format numeric values. Okay, so some languages prefer a period or a comma for their thousand separator. Okay, that's good to know. And then we can take a look at the results here. We get a variable description, outlier description, the forecast description if we have one. We get some documentation on which actions have been taken, and we also can get some warnings. Okay, that seems like a fun one. Let's get started with this. So I think for our testing, we will have to make sure that we have a SAS session available. And then let's just assign our SAS user library on here. And then let's see, does it specify anything about the SAS table, the SAS resource? The server, the library, the table, an optional SAS session ID. If no session ID is specified, a new SAS session will be created, used, and then destroyed. Okay, that's important because if we support using that session ID, then we could use temporary tables. If we don't, we probably have to resort to only promoted tables. So that's something to keep in mind. Okay, so let's say, okay, we have a SAS session, we have our SAS lib, and then let's just add some data to it. So we'll just upload the HMEQ dataset from the SAMS.io library. So that's our baseline. And then we can pull in my via API snippet. So we, in our case, have a post request. Then the API endpoint was /explain. It's as simple as that. That's quite nice. Then we have explain, then headers application JSON. That's okay. And content type also needs to be application JSON. So let's add that as a header here. So let's say content type equals application JSON. What else? Oh, we need to create our data structure here. So let's pull that out and say, let's leave this out statement here. Let's create file name explain temp, and let's create our input data structure here. I want to say file explain and create our run statement. Then let's add our resources up top here. Okay, so we start off things with put, opening up a bracket, then we can say CAS. Gonna add another bracket, and then we're gonna say server. Okay, now we need to put the variable name. Need to put the variable name. So okay, let's for now add everything into one long string here, not bother with doing everything properly. So let's say we want to have the bad one explain to us. The library is CAS user and the table is HMEQ. And then we are going to close the CAS option. Then we have to, oh, the server isn't bad. Is there a default on that? Let's see. There's a default on the, there's no default and they're all required. Okay. So we need to specify a server here, and the default server is CAS shared default. And since our table is local, we need to specify a session ID. Session ID, which we don't have yet. Okay, so let's do that. Let's run our setup code up here to start our CAS session and see what else we get in here. The engine, the physical name, our UID, and that's our session ID. So let's grab that and add that to this piece. And then our final piece of information, everything else is false. So now we only need to specify the target variable, and we are going to put this as bad. Okay, so that's our input data set. We'll leave the rest alone, just so we remember it to set it in the future. Let's run this. Okay, let's move on. We can already create these two. And then let's go down here and let's say our in is explain. Then we'll have our out. Okay, let's run our proc HTTP call here. 44 not found. Okay, so that isn't the correct endpoint. Did say just explain. So let's go one up and look at the root here. Nope, it's just saying, oh, it says inside / explain. See here? Okay, so we'll probably have to use the feedback button to mention that here. But for now, let's just soldier on here. And run this. Let me make a note of sending feedback. Okay, bad request. So let's look at our JSON first. Oh, there we go. Already see it. We don't have a closing bracket on our JSON. So let's rerun this. 200 and OK. Okay, let's check the response, even though we saw it in the log. And now we have a library assigned called out. And there we go. We get the variable screening actions taken, reasons and results. And we get the all data and route. So let's look at the route first here. We get a long variable description, average. Okay, most cases. Okay, we get a nice explanation of what's in this column. Let's look at the actions taken. There's a lot of reasons here. Let's look at all data. Might be easier to understand what's going on all here. Okay, so there's all the different variables. And then the measure was converted to category because relatively few distinct levels were detected. Okay, that's great information for someone building a report, for example, that you could make use of to then help you build the report faster. Okay, and that's the action taken one. And all of that information. Yeah, so we could join what piece has been done where through those three tables. Okay, okay. So let's think about this. The first step would probably be to say, let's print the data for the work for out.route. And we want to be dropping the ordinal route and the version because, yeah, that's only internal stuff. Ordinal route version. And we don't want ops number attached to that. And then maybe we can set a title on here to say screening result. And then let's reset the title here. Perfect. Okay, we can see our result. It's nice and readable. Then what else would we want to do? We have the variable screening results in here. Let's think about this. We can actions taken and reason. Oh, okay. So this is what was done. And that's the reason for that. So it's kind of a shorthand for this piece. So I think I'm only going to be sticking with the actions taken on, and it looks like there can be multiple actions performed on that. That's something we see in the examples here. Actions taken, yep, there we go. Can be a number of them. Okay. Okay, actions taken can be multiple. So let's do the following. Ordinal actions taken. I would almost like to get an example up where I can see that. But there's no description of what kind of actions. Too many missing values. Measure level detected, we have that one. Okay. Actions taken. Bum bum. Okay, we can work with that. So we could go in and say if what do we say? If n is below, let's say 3000, then for which one did we see an action taken? Which one was it? 4? 4 is the link. Okay, then let's just say, then we set the link to missing. Let's rerun this. Okay, and let's resend these. And let's hope we get that updated results here. Okay. There's only one reason still. Okay, so we overdid it maybe a little bit. So let's say we'll do 500 then. Maybe that triggers it. And let's rerun. Nope. Still too many. Okay, let's see. Let's go to 50 then. We'll find it. We'll find it. Okay. And let's run again. Nope, we still only get one action. But my assumption would be that we get multiple action taken then, which shouldn't be an issue if we look at that, because if you have one action, you need to have at least one action performed on you in order to get more. Okay, so let's stick with that. Let's stick with that. We'll remove that. We'll reset the data set to its original state. And then we are going to go in here and say, we are going to create a data set now. No print, wait, camel case. Let's say quit here. And then we are going to say create table work point. Let's just call this AAA as select. Then our main table is the screening result, where we get the column name, its label, and its ordinal variable screening result. Okay, so let's open that up here, and let's say from A, we want to select the column name, up, and we want to select the label. Next, wait, let's start the from statement here. From out dot variable screening results as A. Then we're going to say left join, and the reason was the shorter one, so we're sticking with the actions taken. So we're going to say A dot actions taken one, wait, not A, B. I'm going to say left join out dot, let's just pull in that name, and then say variable screening actions taken as B on A dot variable results equals, so equals like that. And then from the actions taken, variable selection. Okay. So we have our table here. Let's run this. Okay. And then we get our actions taken. And then we could even throw on, let's see, let's reduce this one by specifying where is equal to actions taken any empty string, right? Because we only want those columns where something was performed on. Oh, actions taken 1. That would also mean we just reduce the amount of data we move around, which is always a good idea. Oh no, we need to do this on the final table. Yep, so yeah, we need to do this after the fact. So let's do a data step for this table, set work.a, and then set the where statement here. Let's rerun this. Oh yeah, I did one too many. One too many brackets. And now we should only have 2 rows left. Perfect. And that's what we are. So we have the screening results, and then we have the proc print data is work.aaa. We are going to again say this time, so we're gonna leave the ops just so you can visually quickly see how many actions have been taken. I think that's a good one. And then actions performed on columns in the data set. Let's run that. Okay, perfect. So now we should be Googling for, let's say, proc SQL select prefix, variables with same prefix. Okay, let's see how we do that. Let's see. But then we can't join. Well, we could do that after the fact. Yeah. That's a good idea. Okay, so we can say B star, and of B we are going to say keep, and then we're going to say keep equals. First we need our ordinal 1 because that one needs to be there to be able to join. And then we are going to say actions taken, and then just a colon. Yep. From here. And then in this one, we are going to be adding a drop equals the ordinal screening results. Let's see. That's correct. That is looking good. Yep, we still have our 3, and now it should scale to however many actions we have in the data set. Perfect. What else do we want? So now we need to, let's see, what are the default values? Include outlier, an optional flag. The default value is false. Include variable description is true. Use missing, the default value is true. And the time series, and then include variable screen default is also true. So let's see how our output changes if we include outlier descriptions. Let's go back to our JSON up here, add an additional one, and say true. So let's run that. And let's run our call. So I don't see anything here. The root has an additional one. Has variable description and the outlier description. So the good piece is that would directly be captured by our existing printing logic. So yeah, I think we're good with that. We are good with that. Now we need to now we should think about how we want the custom step to look like. For that, I'm going to again be making a copy of the template step. If you're unfamiliar with this one, you can find it in the SAS Studio Custom Steps repository. And if you go down the list, you will find this template step in here that you can make use of. So that's perfect. Now, we don't need an advanced page. Oh wait, let's first add this to my folder, and let's, for the custom steps, we are going to call it VA again, and then we are going to call this, should we explain column? Get column explanation? Get column explanation, I like that. So let's say get column explanation. And let's hit save here. Now I'm going to delete the advanced page because we only need one. And let's go in here. We need to have an input table. And then we will need to have a dynamic list. No, we don't need a dynamic list. What we need is a column selector here, and then we want this to depend on our table. It can be any type of column. It needs to be at least one, but also maximum one. Okay. And what else do we need? We need another column selector. Also one, I think, for the date variable. Can only be one, right? The name of the time series. Okay, so only one. But this one can be optional. It's optional. And what else? We also have include variable description, include outlier description, use missing, and include variable screening results. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 additional configuration options. So let's do 4 checkboxes for that. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't think we need an output table. I think none of this data is interesting enough to keep as an actual table. I think the result is the thing you're interested in, I'd assume. Yeah, let's stick with that assumption. Okay, so let's draft up. First up, we are going to be create a header here. Where we are stating this step provides an easy integration with the get explanation. Let's add a couple more stars here. End point. Under get column explanation is shorthand for get column explanation. So that will be our calling sign. So with that in mind, let's call this our get column explanation info text. This step enables you to quickly get insights about a column and how it relates to the other columns in the SAS table. Information from that screening is printed to the results tab. Okay. Both global and session scope tables can be used. Let's say SAS tables, just to be very explicit here. Then we will have our GCE input table. SAS table for explanation. Let's do something like SAS user.example as a placeholder. Now the column selector. We are going to call this one target variable for the explanation. All types, and then wait, we don't want this one to be required. First up, let's do an exclusion. It can't be GCE target as well. How can I make this read only? Oh, minimum can be 0. Yep. So this is the GCE time variable, or just time. GCE time is enough. And let's time series variable optional. How do they call it in here? Date variable. The name of the time series column. I actually like that description. That's good. Optional. leave it like that. All types. It has to be numeric. Now, first up, let's stick with this. Include variable description. So let's call this one GCE variable include variable description. We're gonna check all of these by default. Next up, include outlier description. GCE, say include outlier description. Check by default. Use missing. GCE use missing. Use missing. And finally, include variable screening results. Oh, this one is pretty long. Let's check how long it is. Yep, this one is too long. Let's quickly sanity check the outlier description one as well. Don't think it's as long, but it's pretty darn close. So I'll want to shorten that one as well. So let's just call this one GIOD. IOD. We'll call this one UM. We can leave use missing. I'm gonna also include variable description, VD. Oh, VD. And then we're going to call this one GCE include variable screening results. And also call this one and then call this one include variable screening results. Okay. We forgot a colon on this one. What else do we want? I think that is essentially it. So now we need to make the step to say we have to first make sure we have a CAS session available to us. And I think there's a snippet for that. Cogent snippets, code samples, check get CAS library name. That one is super important. We have to make sure that we can actually get the CAS lib in here, not just the name that SAS is returning to us. So let's use this snippet first. So if upcase, and then it's not, well, split this vertically and let's minimize the step pane so we have a bit more screen real estate, and then let's get our variable here. This is our engine. It has to equal CAS. And we can make that in single quotes. Let GCE, let's also call this GCE input table CAS lib is equal to GCE input table. Let's call this lib. Okay, else results error. The selected input variable does not point to a cas lib. We don't need double quotes here. Let's remove them. And I also like to capitalize things. Okay, that is looking good. So now we have the actual name if we have a cas lib. Otherwise we'll abort. We need to get the cas session. So let's look at this reusing step. So first up, we have to check if a SAS session reference exists. If one exists, we can grab it like this. So let's use that to our advantage. So maybe we can even do that. No, let's first check for the cas lib. First check for the cas lib. And then we can say we'll leave that one alone. SAS ref I. Wait. We don't need to put a note in the log. And then we are going to call this GCE. Let's update this. Then we're gonna say proc cas session ID using SAS results, and then we are going to add it into, whoops, GCE. Okay, if else do and we're gonna say data null. I'm gonna say put log error an active cas session is required in order to run this step. And we're gonna say abort again. And we're gonna add the run. And I think we also need to add this around this one. Else undo. Might be if the cas session has timed out. Be my understanding of that one. Oops. Let's see, that's one in. Wait, this is a weird formatting. Give me a second. Yeah, this is 3. That's odd. Let me put that into a sensible order. Yeah, okay. So these are all good. This is good. Okay. So now we have an active cas session. We have its session ID. Now we need to build up our data object. So now we need to rebuild this piece. So we are going to say file name, And this is GCE in temp. And we're going to say data null, run file GCE in, and then we're going to start off with put, and then cas, and then this piece here. Okay, and we leave it at that. And let's close things down already, what we have opened up. And we should also have one in between here to say, so now everything is down that we have put up. So now we can say server is equal to, and we select server, then we are going to put in our variable, and that is GCE target. And we have to finish it off, and we'll say comma, put server. Next up is our library. Ooh, we need to get the server. Wait, this isn't right. This piece isn't right. We need to find the active CAS server. So sure, there is a variable that we can get this from. Let's see. Compute CAS. Don't see it in here. So let's say proc CAS get active CAS server. SAS CAS get CAS server of library. Let's see what we have in here. Table CAS lib info. Let's try this. Proc CAS lib table info. Then we say our, and we say CAS lib equals CAS lib equals, let's say CAS user here. Run quit. Let's run this. Let's see. Okay, I don't see the server. I don't see the server here. Maybe it's part of the session information. Let's get CAS server. We're gonna get CAS session options. Okay, this is just giving me general information that I do not care about at the moment. So let's check back here. CAS host. It's the host name. List session options. Let's go to the newest version of the documentation. And we don't need these ones anymore. List. But that also doesn't tell me the host. Let's see, host. I wonder if I can also use this name. Okay, let's put that theory to the test. And let's see if we can also use this one. Just not sure about the dash client piece. Well, we can see. So it does. So let's put this in here and let's rerun it. 400 batch request. Why is that? Batch request would hint that this value isn't okay. Which one did I pick? There was one that I didn't like because it had quotes around it. Did I pick one with quotes? No. It shouldn't have quotes around it. See, it just says engine here. Wait, but maybe different idea. Let's minimize this. We say get caslib. Let's try sysfunc. Get caslib session option. Let's take another look in the documentation. Get session options. Nope. Get CAS URL. Gives me the full shebang. Wait, but that, if we have to get CAS URL, then what do we have to provide? We don't need you anymore. We don't need you. We have to specify that if 0 is specified, then the default is used. Okay, that sounds good. Say let x equal, and then let's put x to the log. CAS shared default dash HTTP. So let's think of that. we have CAS shared default. That's what we want. So what we could do is we could grab it using a data step. And then we say our first step is URL is equal to X in this case. Then we want to say I is find specifies the constant we want to find. We want to find the slash, and we want to find this. No, this is what is searched for. So this would be URL. Then we want to find the slash, and we ignore case, sure. And then the start position should be 4, 6, 8, 9. Let's do 10, just to be sure. And let's put this as work.b. B. So that would be URL. Then we find where our piece is, and then we can say server is equal to the k substring of URL starting with I plus 1 for length of URL minus 5, so that we remove the dash HTTP. Let's hit run. Let's see, what do we have in here? Oh, yeah, we can't put I here. We need to put this as a case. Let's rerun. Argument free. Wait a second. 70. Argument free exceeds the length. Oh, yeah, because yeah. So we need to say 5. We need to say the length of the URL minus I minus 6. Because we need to subtract our starting position from this. Default, one too many. CAS shared default, and that's exactly our value here. Perfect. So let's what we should be able to do is now we should be able to say get CAS URL right here within here. Then we can run this null. Wait, maybe actually let's check real quick. There must be something in the codegen snippets potentially. Reuse this, and then in here this gets get option CAS host. Get option CAS host. So let's do work BBB again, and then we say test is get option SAS host. Let's see, maybe all of this was for nothing. No, it wasn't. It wasn't. So we are good here. We can remove that. Now we have this piece. Now we can say null. And then we call simput x. We have GCE server is equal to server, which we can then pull out. We don't need this anymore. We don't need, whoops, we don't need this piece. Well, let's get back in here. Let's give us a bit more coding space. We can then say in here GCE server. Let's say down here we have our cleanup, and we are going to say simdel, and then we are going to delete GCE server for sure. And we probably need to keep that. And then we can also keep this sim exist for some stuff. No, that shouldn't matter, because if it doesn't exist, we can say local in here when we make this one local. And then let's be explicit about it and make the other one global. So we can say definitely we need to delete this one. And we also need to sysmac delete our, and we need to call this one GCE cast check session exists. So let's remove that along here. This is still our file name. And we'll just say get cast server name. Let's hit save real quick. So now we have our server name. Next we are to our library, finally. Library. This one should be a lot easier, because now we can make use of our library in here. And let's also add that. Let's make sure we delete the variable as well while we're here. And then we're going to put it library. Next up is the table, which is table. And then this time we are going to say just GCE input table. Oops. GCE input table. Right, and then there. Yep. Next up, we are going to close this out with comma. We have one more argument. Put table. Next up is session ID, which is session ID And this is our GCE session ID. Now we can just pull this in there. Yep. Then we just put session ID here. Now comes the, now we need to check. So now we have this piece is done. We have the target variable, but we almost want to move this, oops, last, because then we know this doesn't end with a comma. We can put all the optional pieces up above it. So what we can say is if, and we just go down the stack, if GCE is equal to 1, then do end. And if that's the case, we are going to say put include variable description colon true. Wait a second. Wait a second. Yeah, no, let's do it like that. We always say the comma before the value. That means we can then make sure it's proper structured JSON. Yep, I like that. That's a good idea. So we need this 3 more times, this exact same setup. Now we have the outlier detection. We have the use missing detection. And we have the variable screening results. Variable screening results true. Include variable description, include outlier description, and then use missing. Okay, now we need to just check. Include variable description. The default is true. So what we actually should be doing is in here, if it's 0, then we should set it to false because we can work with the default. Next up, outlier detection. There we are fine. Use missing. Default is true. So we're gonna switch it over to 0 and call this piece false. And then screening results is the same case again. We're gonna say 0 here and call it false. Now we have already a very passable piece. We now need to do the target variable. So we're gonna say target is equal to target variable and that piece is and we can close our piece here. Say put target, and then we just need to grab this one in here. So now we should check if the variable here is set. So we can actually say just the properly formatted time series column, and it's optional. Okay. And we don't need probably, we just say formatted. So we get a bit more space back. Yep. So let's quickly check. What we're actually going to be doing is, let's just comment out everything. We don't need this piece anymore. Let's save. And now let's take this for spin. Cast user HMEQ. We want our bad in here, and let's have, do not have this. Oh wait, what I actually wanted to do is say put all in here. So we can see all the variables, just so we can make sure that what we are doing makes sense. So let's see what value this date GCE date variable target GCE time. So we can just check GCE time count needs to be 1. Perfect, easy peasy. So let's remove this and this. And then above here, we can say if, and then that's the variable name. I just like them to be lowercase, GCE time count is equal to 1, then do, and end. And we're gonna say date variable is equal to date variable, correct? Date variable, let's, yep. What we need to set a comma before it, that was our standard. And then just have to close off, put date variable, and now the only thing left is this, putting that here. So on our cleanup, we don't need this one. We can also clean up our file name, GCE, whoops, GCE in clear. Let's continue on, and now we can actually pull in the interesting pieces. Let's call this one GCE via host and make sure we delete the variable after. We call this one GCE out. We call this one GCE out. We call this one GCE in. And we will also file name GCE out clear. And since we are assigning it also as a lib name, we can also clear that. Let's do a quit after that. Okay, let's go back. We will be checking the response for sure. Oh, API call to this endpoint. Let's add the documentation. Note request was not successful. Put log abort. And then we're just gonna pull in this We don't need all of that. Note. We don't need a note when something was successful here. Okay. If it is successful, we are going to assign our output. So we need to do this. These are next to meaningless as far as comments go. Screening results, that's fine. We have our proc table here. We're going to call this one GCE result tab. We are calling it the same here. Wait, not double period. I wanted this as a title statement if I remember correctly. And then title. Let's wait here a second. We need to replace out all over the place with GCE out. GCE out, GCE out, GCE out, GCE out. And then we also need to clean up the GCE result table that we have created. Okay, let's launch this. SAS user, HMEQ, target variable bad, and let's run. Put log. Yep. Sure did misspell that. Okay, let's rerun. Didn't refresh the code. Wait, let me turn this down and relaunch it. HMEQ, bad, run. Library does not point to a CAS lib. That is interesting. Submitted code. Let's see. GCE input table. Ah, look, there's a new variable, is CAS. That is awesome. So we don't need to do half of the dance now. We can just go in here. Let's check this out. If is CAS, then do save and launch again. Let's pick up HMEQ, let's select bad and run. A character operand was found in eval when you knew the condition was true. Oh wait, does it say true? It says 1, right? Oh no, is CAS, and then they set it to true. Okay, so let's update our code. And let's say equal true. And let's hit save, launch, HMEQ, that, and run. Does this need to be in quotes? So save again. Let's launch. Invalid libref. Wait. Since we need this, not here, we could pull this here. Get x equals get cas get lcaslib. Cas user. Let's try this over here for a second. Work. CCC. Run. Okay, so that works. So why don't we do the following? In this piece, we are not doing that. Rather, we pull in this data step code. Oops. And then we see equal is not equal to. Then we get the cas session ID, server, and then we say this is gone. Get cas lib name, and we can say cas lib name, and we can, well, let's do that. And we should be able then to remove this variable, because we don't need it anymore. So let's retry, run. Okay, 400, bad request, but we went way further this time. That is great. So let's think about this. That means we have an issue with our file in here. So let's move that file to the file system so that we can check it out. So we'll just copy path. We will go in here and put test.json, and then let's not clean it up. Oh no, we can clean it up, that doesn't matter. Okay, save, and let's relaunch it. We'll select HMEQ, bad, and hit run. Our test.json is here. Oh, look at that. So this needs to be here. And the target variable also, of course, needs one. Okay, so think I know what went wrong. So don't save. Let's go back into our data step code here. Yep, see, we put it inside of the double quotes, which is, of course, not what we wanted. Needs to go before it. For the date variable, we did it correctly, and we forgot to do it for the target variable. So let's hit save again, launch, SAS user, that, and let's run. What did we get? 500 internal error. Okay. Let's open it up. That all looks okay to me. So let's see. Is our table been dropped somewhere along the line? Ah. Okay. So let's do the following. Let's reset our whole cast session. Let's recreate our table. And let's close out the test.json. Let's hit run. Oh, we forgot. Oh, see, it's always good to reset your SAS session while you're doing these things. We updated it here, but not down here. Let's relaunch. SAS user, bad. And let's hit run. 500 internal server error. Why is that? Okay, our table is here. So it has to have to do something with our JSON. So let's look at our JSON again. It looks fine. It's correct JSON. Maybe it doesn't like. Well, let's test that. Let's just move. Whoops. Oh. Is there? Oh, there we go. There is the issue. We are sending the wrong piece. We are not allowed to send the library.table name to it. We just have to send the name to it. It's always good to print these JSON so you can figure out where we went wrong. Let's update, let's save and hit launch again. And select our bad column. Okay, let's open up our test.json. SAS shared default library HMEQ, our session. Then we have include outlier description and we have bad. So all of that now looks fine to me. Do we have, oh no, that okay, the library is way too long. The library is way too long. So what do we do about that? We go in here and in our code let's make this a bit smaller. The library piece. Yeah, we can compress source. That should just remove everything in terms of blanks from it. Don't save. That was a subtle piece. Let's hit run again. Don't like the warning that we got. Data too long for column. Truncated. Don't think it actually truncated something. So I think we're good. I think we're good with everything. This should be more than 132 characters. Well, it's 250 long. So let's maybe Google that. SAS. Let's see if we can you may be able to stop that error with a simple change of the line size option. Don't get an error, I just get a warning. Let's look at the actual support node. Not available. Let's see. Okay, let's try and set ODS HTML explicitly. I would have thought that wouldn't be an issue, but okay. Let's say ODS HTML 5, and then we say ODS close. Oh, HTML5 close. Okay, let's relaunch. No, it still has this warning. Well, guess we'll have to live with the warning. Truncated. Can we actually set it? This line size option, wait, let's see. I know we can programmatically change set. So we can first get the default, then we change it, and then we change it back. Okay. Let's see. Let's first set this outside. I'm gonna say options, line size, and we're gonna set it to 3000. Just to see how big we can make this. Oh, 256 is the max. Okay. Okay. But, yeah. Okay. Let's just... That is at least covering more than what is the default, which should reduce the amount of people that got the warning. So I think that is worth it. Yeah, I think that is worth it. So if all of these pass, Then when we get to our printing, we don't need to specify this anymore. So now we can say let GCE default line size. And then we say line size. And then we say options line size 256. And let's put a note, set line size to maximum to reduce warnings about the printed results. And then let's just get that. And let's also remove that. And let's say we don't want this anymore. We want you. And then we want to say options line size equals. And then we want to remove this variable. Choop. Let's launch one final time. And hit run. We don't get the warning, we get the formatted log. Great. Now we need to update our table here. Say length date var is 8, and we'll format date var to be date 9, and then we'll set date var is equal to today plus n. So we'll just simply move it to the future from today. So now we should have the date var. Perfect. Well, let's go back here, grab the date var, and run the piece again. Now we also got the forecast in here. And now let's run it without any of the other pieces. And then we get this one. Oh yeah. We need to make sure that the variable, oh, and there we have a typo. So let's fix the typo first. No triple E. Okay, we can save that. And then we also need to do around all of this to say, hey, if then do, and then we do all of this. Otherwise, we don't do that. Well, let's go back, HMEQ, we're gonna say bad, and we don't want anything, and we'll hit run. Yeah, we don't get a result. So let's also add in order to see a result, you need to check at least one of the boxes below or specify a time series column. Otherwise, you will get an empty result tab. Perfect. So we have that, and now we just need to finish out our about page. So let's do the following. We are going in here and say VA get column explanation step. And as we need it right away again, let's add it in here. Custom step performs an explanation of a column in a SAS table using the insights explain insights / explain endpoint. Then we don't need this anymore. The output of this step is printed to the results tab. Results tab. Yep. Tab. Boop. Prerequisite. We tested this on SAS Maya 2025.08 documentation. We'll grab the URL and just say that. Changelog. We only have an initial version, but today is the 13th of September. Oh, that's funny. That's a nice coincidence. And then let's also grab this explanation and add it to the description of the step. Hit save, and we have finalized our new additional custom step, which I will be publishing on the SAS software GitHub repository for the custom steps as well. And then let's check in what else we could do with the visualization reports pieces. We have 3 more endpoints. This one already states it's going to be deprecated. So let's take a look in here. The reports one is what we used last time with the contents pieces. So I don't think there's any more in here that we could take a look at. The transformation allows us to change the data sources, which we're not going to be touching. And then we could do translation of all the text elements in a VA report. I think that's a cool use case for sure. And then we also have the ability to export VA reports as PDFs, SVGs, PNGs, report packages, export data for one object in a report. Okay, we could export the data of that. I don't think that is necessarily, well, let's think about that. We could do that as a job as well, and then we can update the report. So I think exporting things and doing the translation are 2 potential ones for the future. But for this live stream, I think we're done. We've built out another custom step that gives us additional capabilities within SAS Studio to programmatically interact with SAS Visual Analytics and make use of all the capabilities that we have available to us. So see you next time. Bye bye.